Hi everybody, and welcome back to another interview over here at Behind That Suit. My name is Holden Stephan Roy, and joining me tonight is Mr.
And BuDz, MakeWay Studios.
Oof, this one's a cool one for me at least, so we'll get into letting him speak for a little bit, but the little intro part is from my little history. Back in 2012, I decided I'm going to be a rapper, and I go out there, and my boy links me up with the next dude. Anyway, long story short, I end up at my very first show, and that set's on this channel if you want to check it out. You can check it out, whatever. And this dude put on the show, was where I was going with all that. Host of it all. You can see a young version of him in that video on this channel.
No beard.
Rocking out in the crowd and whatnot. So just so that, he goes way back. And since that point, I would just say that he has created what is known as MakeWay Studios. And as far as impressive institutions that Montreal has created over the last 7.5 years that I've been paying attention, there are very few, if any, that can say that they have done half of what this man has managed to pull off during that time period. So it's super cool and a great pleasure in terms of our mission of telling y'all out there what's going on over here in Montreal to have Mr. BuDz here. So for the people who probably don't know you, this is going to be their first introduction, at least on my side of the people watching. Your side know who you are, and they're like, who the fuck is this guy? Whatever. Why don't you just run us through? You're from Montreal?
Yes, born and raised.
That's dope. What part of Montreal?
Originally Côte Saint Luc,
It's a good part.
Yeah, but I kept moving down Côte Saint Luc, like further, deeper. But I was going to school in NDG at Marymount.
Fair enough.
Just by Villa, so that's where a lot of my people come from, this area, DG.
So after high school, did you go on to like college or anything like that?
I did one semester almost in Dawson, and I was in psychology and like just bullshit, and like towards the end of it, I was just like, yo, and that was around the time, like probably like 2012, 2011, let's say. It was just before I was like really starting up, because I was realizing at the time, like, what am I doing here? And I'm like, none of this is gonna like translate into me being successful in life. I just didn't see it, at least, not for what I wanted to do and what I was into.
What's really crazy.
And I got frustrated towards the end, and I ended up enrolling. Sorry to cut you off. I ended up enrolling into Recording Arts Canada.
Okay.
And the whole problem with this schooling was they were starting 2 weeks before my other school was ending. So I could have finished Dawson that semester there and got whatever, who cares, points, degree, this, that,
right.
I was like, screw it, I'm just going to stop doing this, not going to have a summer, I'm just going to start schooling from the start right away, instead of, because then I would have had that whole summer break, but instead I just started right away on the next school program, completely ditched Dawson, and I went into something that I could actually see a future from.
So to translate that, he went from academia and the borings, which I can relate to. I dropped out of psychology myself. And then he flipped into Recording Arts Canada, call it whatever, which is basically a sound engineering school here in Montreal.
It's in Old Port.
And they have lots of famous people that have come from it, according to the advertisements that are all over the city for them. I don't know. That's what I remember about them. But I actually toured all of the sound engineering schools, and they look really freaking legit.
Yeah, no, they have a lot of nice facilities there. Their teachers are awesome. I met a lot of great people. When I was doing the program, it was more based around rock, heavy metal, instrument based. But now it's not what I was doing either, but I still learned how to take the essentials from what they were trying to teach and just pull out what I needed in my day to day. So I used to learn something in class. They'd teach you about like a certain way of compression on vocals, and like then they would go on about guitar. I would just take that, that's how you do it. I'd leave class. And I'd go with the client or one of my boys, and we'd work it, And
so at the same time as you're in the sound engineering school, you're simultaneously building a studio?
I was doing that in my mom's basement.
That's fair.
I was still living at home at the time, and I was like 16, 17, doing this recording art school, and I just remember every time I would learn something that would blow my mind, I would just leave class. And the kids would think, like, yo, this kid's stupid. He doesn't understand it. Every time we have writtens, he's not like doing as well. But then when we would actually do physicals and we'd actually be in the studio, all these people who are getting hundreds, who know how to memorize things on paper, were getting zeros. and they weren't able to even complete the task. Where me, I was flying by everything because it was something I was actually applying to. I just wasn't a book smarts guy.
So that's fantastic. Just right there to unpackage that. What we have is a guy who has gone into class, said, this crap's boring. And you got to think about how school works for nowadays, where everyone's just so pre-programmed. There's all these mandated criterias, blah, blah, blah. And most people, in my humble opinion, go through school and get freaking nothing out of the experience. So instead, Mr. Anu BuDz over here goes in and goes, this is the only 8 minutes I really need. I don't know, 10 minutes, whatever. Fuck the rest of the class. Goes home and starts a side hustle where he's literally using the knowledge the same day.
Yeah.
That right there is basically what every self-help book probably would tell you should be doing if you're living life right, because like it's taking the knowledge, it's applying the knowledge, and then it's practice, right? And as he pointed out, the people who studied and blah 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 but put no time into actually using their craft could not do it when the time came, whereas regardless of perceptions, you practiced, so you killed it. And that's fantastic. Like that's like life lesson shit. That's amazing, you know.
Sure, man. It was a long road doing all this stuff, but yeah, by the end of it, it was a year class, a year program with 12 classes and his intensives. So like everything was packed, and I didn't have a summer for like 2 years because I was just like in constant school.
So did you like start school and then start the studio, or did you start your studio thing and then start school? How did that like come
I was already recording people. Yeah, I was definitely recording people in my place in like Côte Saint-Luc. Like my first mic setup was because I was a gamer. I used to play like, you know, like Counter-Strike and that kind of stuff. We had the headset. So the headset had a microphone. And then eventually through high school, I met a couple boys who were rapping and stuff. And then like we came back and we're like, yo, like, we could probably record over beats and stuff, you know? So we put on the headphones. We noticed there were sound problems, you know, you heard the pops. So we cut the thumb off of a glove and put it on the thing as a pop filter, and then we had some better quality. And like right there, like just we saw a problem, we learned how to deal with it, and we upgraded. And it's so weird. It never once in all my career, like when I was coming up, I never thought about just going to a professional studio. It was always like we got to just do it ourselves. Always. Like we found the video guy that was in our friend group. We found the producer that was in our friend group. Like we had all the crazy rappers in our friend group. Remember Big H?
Yeah, I do.
We had Orphan. We had Janeer, Kelly Crow. We had all these great artists that were all together, and Jay Sentry, the producer. And we were just a dope collective, you know? And just through, you know, it's almost not even just me, just through all these businesses, all these artists that we've seen since 2012, you know, not all of them are still doing it. Not all of them are still there. A lot of them went into lifestyle things, and like, you know, people grow out of hobbies and then people stay in what they actually see as a career.
I mean, I've come to see that this hobby can have a serious cash investment that could have you definitely re-question it if you don't see that career coming through, right? But what I can say is somewhere between then and let's say a couple years back, because I know there's bigger moves in the meantime, but I end up going through because Chris Chrome, who y'all know watching this, at some point is affiliated with some radio station he's doing, because we'll get into what's going on there. So I come through and it's just this multi-room studio, right? Like you walk in, like it's nice looking, it's got a few studios to record in, not just one, but like multiple booths set up. It's ready to go. At this point, the website's tight and everything. And I've
actually had the same website since 2012.
That's crazy.
It's always been the same, even when I was in the basement. Just made it look nice.
But essentially, the man's shop is like the kind of stuff that if you were trying to impress a girl, you would want to bring it to like his studio because she'd absolutely think like you're some hot shit person being connected like that, right? Like it looks like this place is not that. This is that low end grungy shit, because that's what I'm going for here in my apartment. His place is that fancy, like it looks nice is all I'm trying to say. But why don't you introduce what MakeWay is, because that is obviously a huge part of your brand and what you do. And he does music as well, so we'll touch on that at a later point, but the guy's got a lot going on. So let's touch on MakeWay and all of how that comes, because that's where I believe the follow-up to your basement studio ends up transpiring in life.
For sure. So I mean, MakeWay where it is now, We just moved locations from de l'Église. We were there in Verdun for 5 years.
That was the nice spot.
It was a very nice spot. Had countless people there from 2 studios. We were switching knobs in there as well for a couple years. And we had DJ Handyman. We had all sorts of people coming in and out of that building because I was renting rooms out, production rooms for, about 7 production rooms I had renting out to people. Through my clientele, through all the people coming through to see me, that means that they had to pass through the hallways and hear or see all of my people that I brought in.
Can I just clarify what you mean? So you had the room where you basically held multiple rooms. A couple of them were yours. The rest you basically licensed to other noteworthy individuals.
That were in the same industry that I could see us building together.
Yeah, that's smart.
So it's like, yes, you're paying rent, but dude, better bet I'm going to help you pay that rent and get you more. Because I want everyone to build, I want everyone to succeed.
So you end up stacking out this building with all sorts of services and whatnot. Yeah. But you also did shows, if I'm not mistaken. Do you still do shows, or is that like kind of...
Yeah, no, I still do shows. I'm still very active as an artist. And I recently, it's been a year now since I started battling. It was December last year that I did my first battle against Disciple and destroyed this kid.
Fair enough. All right, so why don't we go through it? We'll go through each of these things one by one. So what does MakeWay do? Like, what is MakeWay? Let's start
MakeWay,
there.
We primarily do recording, mixing, and mastering.
Right.
That's what we're mainly known for, and that's my skill. And then after where it comes into, well, I had so many clients asking me so many different things that weren't related to just audio. So branding services, photography, graphic design, website building. They were asking me all these things. Where do I get it? And I was like, I don't know, go find it. But eventually I was like, dummy, figure it out or get somebody that knows how to do it and cater, the job. So eventually a lot of these things I was outreaching to a lot of people, outsourcing. But then through it, I was like, yo, I could do this. I have a very good eye. So then I started taking photos, I started making websites, I started doing a little bit of graphic design, where graphic design work's a little tricky because, like, you really got to know your stuff. So, like, I always do have somebody, but for small jobs, you got to know how to work Photoshop. You got to know how to do these things. You're going to be broke, because there's just so much content, there's so much branding that you need to do in order to run anything, and especially if you're doing out of pocket and you're not doing it with a huge capital. These are hard things, and that's how I was starting. I didn't have a huge capital to start, and I just had my team or my knowledge. So I always said, if I have time to smoke a joint, I got time to learn something. I have time to go to YouTube and do a tutorial and learn how to do Photoshop, how to make a logo, or how to crop something out. And
okay, so we have MakeWay, which
yes.
starts as a recording studio.
Yeah.
And it starts in your mom's basement. Then does that move into the Verdun place, or is there something in between?
Okay, so if you want to go the whole history here, so from the base.
I love long content.
Okay, for sure. So from the basement, Côte St. Luc, I eventually moved. Oh boy. Okay. I eventually moved to this studio on Sherbrooke with DJ Horg. Okay. He was renting me out his studio that was already built. I was like, okay, let me try to get a spot that's already built. So I'm not going to put in that much money. Let's see how it goes. Because this is my first studio I'm renting now because I'm quitting my job. I was working at Subway. And I was like, I don't want to do this no more. I'm going to quit. And I'm going to see if I could dedicate all my time towards this, if it's going to work.
That's fascinating.
Because people would ask me for sessions. I'd be like, no, man, I'm on my job. I can only do it at night. And then I got school. And it's like, bro, I'm going to go to the next studio.
But you were making enough off of the sessions to make it worth it to quit Subway? Or
just. And I was just in my mind. And I'm like, definitely if I quit Subway, I'll be able to take all these people that have been asking me. Right. So I did it. And then I was able to eventually start renting out because, my mom was going crazy with all these people in and out of my house at some point. It started off as 3 friends, then it's turned into 10 friends, then 20 friends. Now there's 35 people daily, So it was just yo, stop this, So I found a spot to rent. But you know what? Even though it was a studio, they still had the same problem. I would take it every second day, and they would say, every second day you're here, it's filled with people. And I'm like, well, I'm doing business. That's what you want. People, and my people, they can't tell me to limit how many people come in a session. You know, this is vibes. If they want to come with 5 people, they come with 5 people. The place is more than able to hold it, you know, and it's just hallway stuff there, you know, so.
Is there like a general trend in Montreal? Because I don't know. I've been kind of with my dude and ignoring everyone else for a while on that front of it. But is there a general limit to how many people you can bring to a session? Or?
No, I had 30 people in my studio the other day.
I mean, not for you, but like other people. Is this something a lot of people care about, or?
Well, I just think it's a thing of like, just like common decency. Like, what if I came to your place right now with like 7 people? You'd probably be like a little bit weirded out.
I totally tried to warn you. I was like, I only got 2 mics available.
Yeah, and I was like, I don't know, I'm coming along.
Fair enough.
You know, but my first radio interview I did on FM, I brought like 8 people, you know? Just shouted people out for days and stuff like that. But I mean, you know, back to the thing, I got this Sherbrooke place. It was a cool spot, already built. I was there every second day, still wasn't enough, you know? And I eventually just got to the point where I was like, okay, I got to get out of here. These guys aren't feeling me anymore either because I'm too busy. But that probably means I could probably have my own space 24/7, right? If I'm that busy. So that's when I really realized it was go time. There was these jam spaces across the Bell Center.
Oh, shit. I've
1180 St. Antoine.
Yes, okay, I know that spot.
A lot of people have recorded there. There's tons of studios in that building.
DRX or DX or something?
Drex Studios, DRX, there's tons. So I got a small room. Probably like this room times 2. You know, there was this room, a door, then another one like this.
Right.
So the guy before me used both rooms as the studio. Like this would be the mixing room, that would be the booth. Me, I was like, nah, you can't walk into the studio. Even if it's a small studio, you can't walk into the studio and that's what you walk into. And like there's clients there and stuff and someone's working. You need a lobby space. So I made it the lobby space and sacrificed them to have both in the same little room on the other side. So when you walked into MakeWay, even though it was a small room, you see the MakeWay on the thing. It was branded and right away, like no matter what, it still looked nice. You still weren't interrupting someone else's session, and I always kept the privacy to a full, because I mean that's what you need when making music, especially. And then
that's interesting, because that's again an example of that resourcefulness you were touching on a little bit earlier, because I don't think a lot of people think like that. And I believe the best part about these little conversations I'm going to have here is that hopefully other artists are going to watch this and catch a detail like, yo, like even myself, I'm going, yeah, I've been loafing on that behind that suit logo. Where the fuck is it in the room? I mean, it's in the corner in the video,
and yo, the room
but where is it in the place? That's a mistake.
Yeah.
You know?
And you know, the room was garbage, like paint on the floors, torn up floors, holes in the walls. We painted the walls and put on floating floors. And I put a vinyl of my company on the wall. Black walls, flat walls, floors. Place looks brand new.
And that's it. So, like,
you know?
But yeah, it's just important to think about those kinds of things. Because trust me, MakeWay is a name that there is not a person in Montreal's music scene that I have met that does not know the name MakeWay Studio. Like, that's how well known his establishment is at a more, I don't know, internationally, but at least locally in my exposure.
For sure. But you know what's even crazy about it? As much as you think like that, a lot of people do think like that as well in our group. And even sometimes, like I there was a point where I was like this, but man, there are so many rappers coming up in so many sections of Montreal where you could go and you'll be like MakeWay, and they're like, eh? And they'll know 100 other rappers who have no clue. But mostly, I would say definitely in the French community, we're not as known. Which is why I brought in certain people towards my company in the earlier days to kind of break that thing. Like I made
I was thinking of the English community, because that's, I don't know, no offense to anybody on the French side watching this.
It's just that there is a huge French audience, and you know, just certain sections of the city who've just never heard of MakeWay.
That's fair.
And it's crazy. It's like, it's just crazy, man. There's rappers everywhere, and everywhere there's rappers, they have like 100 other friends, and like.
Yeah.
And then they're popping some of them, and it's just crazy, just like this whole scene, just how it uplifts certain peoples and certain little demographics around the world. It can bring up a culture in a.
Like, I definitely just think in another little tangent is that Montreal is right at the cusp of about to have like its decade of actually coming together. I know a lot of people on our social media might be negative Nilly sometimes about the disorganizations of the scene, but when I'm looking around, I'm like, yo, the tech is in place. Everybody's trying to get together and hustle. The problem we're having is there's so many shows that it's hard to organize. And no, for real, if you look around on the local end of it, every day of the week there's another local show happening.
Yeah, there's always local shows, but as far as like the commercial shows where like you get like the guaranteed number of people and stuff,
right.
I mean,
That's fair. That's a different.
Yeah, there's a lot of
conversation.
small local shows. A lot of people trying to do it.
But that to me shows the passion is in place, and it's just a matter of time before the cards, align. And again, the decades changing, the general sounds of music are shifting in all over. So, but yeah, anyway, back to MakeWay because that's what we're here for.
For sure. So if we want to talk about the progress, because we're only at location number 1. Location number 2. So I rented out this little spot in 1180. It was 2 rooms, but I still made it look good. I still did the most that I could with it. It was hot, it was small, but it worked. And I was able to do so much business out of that small little whatever studio that 4 studios in the building went down.
Like you were
like they closed. Like there was no clients to go around anymore. So I had that guy from DRX. He came to me and he was like, "Hey, man, you want to buy any equipment?" I was like, "What do you mean buy equipment?" He's like, "Oh, I'm moving out." No. So I go in his studio. It's beautiful wood walls, huge glass,
really
12-foot ceilings. It was like, I was like, "Whoa!" I'm like, "This is crazy." It's the first time I went in his spot too, and he's showing me like if I want to buy his mixing board for like $50K or something. I was like, "Bro," like. Just making like my $300 rent at the time, for the studio, and I was like, damn, I ain't ready for that, but I'm definitely ready for this room, So I said, you know what, like, sorry about your company, whatever, it was a good run. I went to the landlord and I was like, yo, how much for that spot? Because I could literally put my equipment in there and plug and play and have one of the most beautiful studios.
Cause I've been in that studio. It is like the waiting room is huge. And then you got the nice little back, and then you got the studio, and then you got 3 doors to get into the recording part.
So they told me it was $700 to rent it per month. It wasn't in my budget at the time. It was very fresh, But there was this whole office on the side. So this is where I started getting into the whole thing of subletting. So I got this office on the side rented to 24 Hour Music. They were a magazine company that was doing local music coverage. So I was like, perfect. People are going to come to my studio. They're going to see your magazine. Makes sense, right?
That's a really interesting
idea.
idea.
And then I was also like, hey, well, while I'm doing that, I still have that other room that I fully decked out that made it look beautiful. I'm going to sublet that too.
So you still kept the rent on the first place?
So I still kept the first place, put somebody else in there to hire rent. Had somebody split rent with me for the office and the studio, and we shared the lobby. Turned the lobby actually into a photo studio, so we had all the services in-house now.
That's fascinating.
Yep, and the studio was beautiful. I didn't put any. Well, we'd obviously just carpets, floors, and we'd always same thing, floors and walls. We always got to deck those out. But as far as construction goes, to soundproof, to do all those things, we didn't have to do anything. It was all done. I just had to put up some foam and panels and. That was the job, and I had a beautiful studio, and then the rest of it, man, Instagram.
So you start social mediaing at this point.
I was already deep into social media since I was in my basement, because I'll tell you, as soon as Instagram came out, that was my biggest thing. I can't tell you how much it helped me grow my company through all sorts of marketing with it, all sorts of abusing the app.
Sorry out there to all the old folk who hate it, but this is how it works.
It's, if it wasn't for also different ways of exploiting the app to contact more people and to reach out to a lot of folk, Instagram is an amazing part of my my growth for sure.
Fair enough. So you're still active on Instagram?
Every day.
Perfect. Do you recommend posting every day, using stories? What is the best move for Instagram if you're on it now?
If you want to post a lot, if you're one of those people who want to post 100 things a day, do it on your story. If you want to keep your following up at the same time, you should be posting once a day is you're very good. Once every 2 days is acceptable. But if you're really trying to do something as a company or an artist, you need to be at least once a week is the bare minimum, once a week to be posting, to be talking about what you're doing, because people won't follow you. People will fall off, and all the algorithms work towards people who are active. How do you become the first person on everyone's timeline?
Right.
When you open your phone, it's always that same girl. It's always that same thing. She just posted a picture, but she's also at the top of 500 other people's timelines.
That's fair.
And how does she? And her whole goal is how does she get on the top of 1,000 people's timelines, so that when she posts that picture, within the minute, you get all those feedback, you get all that thing, and that just goes into engagement and then messaging you, and then a job could come out of it for modeling this or that.
So what's interesting here is what we found out is on top of being a studio guy, and he's a rapper the whole time too. We haven't even talked about that much yet. He's also a social media marketer and a branding specialist at the jump. And that's really valuable because, like, seriously, without a social media presence, it is extremely challenging to have anyone pay attention to you when you drop anything. So it's almost like you shoot yourself in the foot for not playing the game.
For sure. You know, and also people get frustrated at things. You know, you post something about, I don't know, Kanye, and you get 100 people talking about it, and then you post your music, and like one person likes it, and it makes you wonder, like, what's going on, right? There's a reality to it too, which a lot of people get frustrated with, is, you know, presentation.
Yeah.
You know, anything that's covering Kanye or that's covering a major pop star is going to be presented in an outrageous way, from clickbait to the picture they're using to grab your attention. But when you post, I'm not saying you, but when somebody posts their song and they don't get that response, you know, it's in the presentation. How did you brand yourself? How did you lead up to that situation? What does it look like literally posted on Facebook? Like, what does it look like on the rest of your social medias? Did you do the most in every way to keep your branding aligned? And like, it's organization, its release plans are huge.
Yeah.
And a lot of artists just get excited. When you get that video, the first thing they want to do is just drop it.
And then the begging friends thing, it works once. I would say that's it. It works the one time. Everyone will click, and then it stops working after.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know. But
there's so many things with it, and at the end of the day, like, one thing I tell a lot of people is there's no recipe on how to do these things. There's just smart things to do. You know, because we've seen every anomaly, from people dropping an iPhone video and getting millions of views to people dropping the 10K video, you know, the $10,000 video, but they only get like 1,000 views. You know, so you've seen both sides to it. So it's like, dude, what do I even do? It's just, you just have to be smart with your moves and just be creative, be original, but just
apparently
just be smart.
What you also have to do is stack multiple things at once. Like, for your whole story is laced with you doing like 5 hats at once,
Right.
And as a result of that, it doesn't really, almost, not to say it doesn't matter, but if the one thing, like, you don't get a lot of views here, fine, but you still have moves everywhere else keeping you going, keeping you focused, keeping you so busy, where if all you have is you threw 10K at a video, you dropped it, it got 100 views, you are going to be depressed, and you're not going to focus very well after that. That's just the reality of it. But even then,
and I've seen it.
People have also come to notice, care a lot more about, like, the consistency over time. So even if you drop the best presented package, sometimes it's not going to hit if it's your first song. Sometimes it takes.
Sometimes you have the most chance on your first song.
That's true too. But
it's your first impression. Sometimes people are like, okay, he's dropping another video.
But, like,
you know, and it, like I said, there's no recipe. There's no recipe. Everyone does it differently. Some people blow up off of different things that other people didn't. Me, at the end of the day, I just always say, like, just be smart, be active, show yourself, and, like, you know, it's the same thing they always talk about. You're not.
But you also made sustainability a huge part of your brand, as you pointed out with your last spot, the DRX spot. You made more things in-house with the photography room. So as much as it's everybody does it their own way, there are actually things you have to do. I mean, as much as possible, I'm trying to build my in-house things. You know, I don't want to I don't want to spend more money than I have to on superfluous stuff, you know. So just hearing how you're putting it all together, it's almost like, as much as you're right from a marketing point of view, it's kind of a little bit of gambling, but on the part where how do you keep doing it, you created a business where you offered like 1,000 services that towards sharing knowledge towards other people, constantly building a network, because as everyone knows, it is who you know a lot more than what you do in a lot of ways. So you made sure that the flood of people coming through your place was endless. I mean, these are all brilliant, like, Gary Vee level strategy type shits that you are dropping as knowledge nuggets on these people. That's really fucking cool, honestly. But so you're after the DRX spot.
When I moved into the DRX spot, the landlord told me, yes, it's available, but we do plan on destroying the building in the next 6 to 8 months. So expect a 3-week notice when that will happen. I was like, fuck it. I'm taking it. I need it. I don't care. You know, it's going to be the craziest ride. You know, he's like, it might not come, it might come. You know, and it ended up coming probably about 6 to 8 months later, like right on ball, you know, but by that time we had already built such a fan base. We built such a following. People were, my Instagram was popping because I just had something that was just so visually, it was eye candy, this whole place. It was beautiful. The angles was built to perfection, this little studio. And the building was, for everyone who doesn't know 1180, this building is garbage. You walk in, you smell 5 different weed scents in the hallway. It was just nuts. There's holes in the wall. There's punks jamming out. If you're a rapper, you don't feel at home. Like it was nuts. And when you would walk into my room, it would change right away, because right away you walk into a photo studio. That was like the lobby type thing, you know, so you have like the nice thing, the photo equipment set up all clean, then there's like a little like seating for people, and then you go into the studio and it's like, wow, like a whole, you don't even feel like you're in the same building anymore. It's crazy. It's a whole other vibe, and that's what I wanted. I didn't want people to feel like they were in this awkward, weird building that like had a bunch of people in it. You just want to be in your zone. You want to be private, and you want to know no one's coming in your session.
That's fair. If my memories are a constant slew of guitar strums that you could hear through the walls vibrating. You're never in like the actual studios, but in the hallway.
See, some studios in there, man. You just have to twiddle your thumbs for like 20 minutes till they're done, because it's just so loud.
So then, how do you find the Verdun spot? Because is that what comes next, or is there something in between?
There was one spot in between because I couldn't be out of business, so I had to go back to finding somebody who had studio that could let me put my mixer next to yours, you know? Right. So I found Yan at Golan Studios, right in Square, Victoria. He allowed me to set up, pay him some rent, and just let me do my clients out of there. You know, we just booked the schedule, whatever, you know? It's cool. He was honestly a huge help, because if I wasn't able to continue, I would have lost a lot of clients and I would have fell off.
Right.
And I couldn't afford that.
No, and
also, this is my only way of making money, so like, need money, you know. So and I need to make music because I'm an artist at the same time, and like, you know, I'm also addicted.
I understand that.
You know the addiction, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So we did this spot maybe for about like 3-4 months, and then I found the spot on De l'Église.
Right.
And it was a building, and I figured out what I had to pay to cover mortgage, and I was 22 years old now, about to get into this huge building, like still like barely know how to do like my taxes and stuff like that. Like I don't know, like, you know, I didn't even have invoices yet. Like I still felt very like startup, you know, like half my business I barely even do. Everyone pays cash, you know, it's a cash business. I was starting up, it was nothing, you know, and I'm about to go into this huge building where I had to learn a lot really quick. So the first thing was to learn, you know, how to cover a mortgage. So I did that through tenants and through knowing what my revenue streams were. And then we just started building services, and slowly we got rid of tenants and started using them as MakeWay facilities, such as the photo studio. It was a tenant just doing their own thing in there, and then eventually I was like, okay, I need a photo studio. So I removed them, put my photo studio in there. Now it's a MakeWay room. Now it's going to be able to generate. And then there was another one, the radio. That's where we talked about Chrome.
Right.
He was with THC Radio. He was actually one of my tenants, the guy Jay, who was running THC Radio. And he just after I guess a couple months, you know, he just couldn't make the numbers, and he had to move out. And then 514 Radio came in.
I think I heard of that one.
514 Online, actually.
I think I heard of that one.
Same thing, you know, they were running, had a good thing, and then, you know, couldn't make the numbers. And then I was at that point where I seen 2 radio companies come and go out of my building. I feel like none of them visually did what a radio company should have done. And I did it. And I took a lot of things that I learned from them. I took you know, just a lot of like the base knowledge of how to run a radio station, and we did it. And you know, within our first 4 months, we got an email from New York. Somebody from New York Fashion Week wanted us to cover their event.
No shit.
And us were like, New York Fashion Week, like, we cover music. I don't think they did their research, but we're like, oh, I was like, I went up to the team, like, you guys down to suit up anyways? So we all went to like more as if like none of us had suits. We all got suits and stuff. We told them, yeah, we'd love to cover the event. This is something that like, no, we'll bring our cameraman and we'll have 2 hosts to do interviews. And we made like a whole pitch, and they're like, yeah, great, let's do it. You guys are in. We got your tickets and your guest passes. Everything's fine.
That's crazy.
We ended up having like front row at this walkway. It was actually it was Cancerland for Anna Ono, and it was this all the models that were on the walkway actually had breast cancer and had surgeries and stuff, and like they were exposed. It was like pre-show, we didn't really know much about what we were getting into. During the show, like one of the hosts ends up breaking off in tears. Like we learned so much about the cause, so that when we interviewed them after, it's like we knew everything. We were good, and we held amazing interviews. The people were so humble there. They were so grateful to have us, and then that just led to us doing more fashion events. And then just through this, like now, MakeWay Radio is not just a rap thing. You know, like we're starting to actually get into different industries, and our coverage is pretty much global because it just works for anything. You know, we could cover events, we could cover a fashion show, or we could cover an artist who just released an album.
That's crazy.
Which is what we originally were like really in this to do, you know, for the local music scene. But we saw how quick people were looking for media coverage, especially proper media coverage. When we came to we did a couple battles. We would come with the red carpet, the backdrop, 2 lights, you know, and right away we were the center of attention just because there's interviews going on the side. It was very interesting.
I remember one time I ran into you at, I think it was LT's EP release, and all I can say is the most memorable thing in the room is the MakeWay set up in the back corner for the photo shoot and the interviews, and he's like posting
carpet.
it all to like Instagram Live and whatnot, and I'm like, shit, it just steals the show. Like it really, like, you almost don't care what's going on stage. You kind of want to go. I think it was Blocka was your dude, and he was just standing there, and I'm like, I want to go watch the interviews. This looks more fun. And
yeah, no, it's
saying
awesome.
The show was bad.
That show was also crazy because everyone at that show used to be at our shows. Like that was like the reunion show for me. Like it felt like all the artists that we started out with in the cave in the CFC. That's what we all used to call it. Yeah. And I still get memories on like Facebook, you know, like when it shows you like 5 years on this day, and it's like someone going off in the cave.
That was a great spot.
So I did my first show. I did my first show there.
Technically, I did my first show there too.
I have a picture of that.
It's really good.
I wore the BuDz hoodie.
And man, it was great because like I think it was like 100 people made that place look like 300 people were in it. It was fucking amazing.
Remember Jeremy Dobsky?
Yes.
He used to do the comedy nights with the rappers. He was one of the first people I ever saw do that. I never even thought it was a thing.
It was.
But then like ain't nothing but punchlines. Yeah. Regardless, you're a comedian, you dropping punchlines. You a rapper, you dropping punchlines. Yeah, it was great concept.
I don't know why it doesn't exist because I'm like there is so much crossover between those two fans, and I don't see anybody doing it now, which to me is weird.
Feezy did it at the last battle.
Fair.
Yeah, there was this. Then Vance.
I'm not sure who that is.
Vito Blaze. No. Okay. Vito Blaze. He did a comedy set.
What
mid.
So in
midnight,
2016, I started podcasting, and I spent about like 2.5 years locked in my room before I said, "Oh crap, I need to start like leaving my apartment and going to things again," because I missed a lot, and that's part of what got me to wanting to get y'all through here, go out to events, and then I'm on a mission now to show people what's up in Montreal. But you're like even the MakeWay part of this is so fascinating. Just like in general, the amount of things that you do is ridiculous.
For sure. And also, I mean, I say Instagram was a huge part of me coming up, but also being an artist is also a huge part of why MakeWay is successful.
So you basically be rapping from the jump, but the whole story has you being an artist at the exact same time going on.
For sure. Because I was doing all these shows. I was doing tons of shows. From Pusha T, T.I.
Were you promoting these shows, or were you just performing at the shows?
I was just performing. Yeah,
Fair.
and I only hosted one show ever. Even those shows we used to do back in the day, those weren't my shows. Those were all Jeremy's.
Oh, fair. I thought they were yours.
I was just big presence, and like I pretty much brought all the artists.
Right,
and I would always help out with getting the acts, but like as far as promotion and like selling tickets, like I was never into that whole game.
All right, fair.
Even with all these big shows that I did, like I would just use the studio leverage as far as promotion, as far as the people that I already have coming through, to put myself in positions where I don't have to sell tickets and I don't have to be that guy that's paying his way to get through and
I
stuff
don't
like
think
that.
anybody should be that guy personally.
I don't.
I mean, anybody past
I actually
your...
like this conversation because it's one pay to play.
Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for it,
Yes.
and it's only at the beginning.
Um.
Or if the opportunity makes sense from an ROI perspective.
Well, then we go into the whole branding. So when people say, when they come to me, the first thing they say, I want to perform at Olympia for a big artist. Or they see a big artist performing and they're like, yo, I want to open for that guy. You know, and I'm like, well, dude, first of all, do you have a website? Do you have songs released? Do you have a video? Do you have content? Are you constantly releasing content? If you go on that stage and perform in front of those 3,000 people, or is it going to convert to them actually coming to your page?
So,
And are you easily searchable if they even do think about searching you while you're on stage? You know, and what do you do on stage to make these people come back to you beyond just the music being good? You know, like maybe having a poster with your name on bold or saying it in a certain way where it's remembered, and there's a million different ways to get a bigger percentage of a turnover from fans to rap.
That context where it's planned out and it's part of like a campaign, I would have to say absolutely if it makes sense.
So I mean, do you want to spend money to open up for somebody and that's not even promotion at that point? That's just like you're just trying to brag, you're trying to flex.
Then there's the even more local end of it where you're paying money to perform at a show that, with no disrespects to anybody in the city, but there won't even be 50 fans in the room, but people are still paying to perform. Not everybody, but we both know this is a regular thing that goes on in the city.
For sure.
And again, no disrespect. I know both sides of this conversation. I've had it 1,000 times. I see everybody's argument, but I believe if there's an opportunity for me to go open for somebody where I can get crossover fans, the funnel set up, yeah, I'm going to drop some money on that because it makes sense to do it.
Because me in the position, I've put a lot of people in positions to open up for artists over the years. I've worked with Ricky D a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day,
there's no such thing as a conversation without his name.
Business is business. You know, so I mean, if somebody agrees to it, they agree to it. But I mean, is the whole thing is you're playing on their dreams? Is that where people start getting mad because you're putting a price on it? But now, where do you think about the guy who's putting on the show?
So
look at all these artists who are putting on his dream now. So somebody like him, he's putting on these shows, and then he obviously gets a message from 100 artists. So now it's, how am I supposed to choose who's right? And there's people.
I actually think that's a fair.
And how many times? And I can't even tell you how many times I've seen him give opportunities to people who either don't show up to the thing.
Yeah, that side of it's fucked to me.
Just because of an excuse, or then they don't show up because they don't feel that they sold enough tickets, so they'd rather just duck, keep all the money that they sold, and not say anything. Or there's people who just don't sell any tickets and show up with the same tickets that he gave them and didn't even do 1 ounce of promotion, didn't even bring their sister, their mom, their dad at least, you know? So it's like, wow, I just gave you this huge opportunity. You can't give a little something back as in terms of just like getting people here, you know, because most of the time it's not like you're gonna come, if they say, let's say sell 20 tickets and you come with 10, you think they're gonna say, nah, it's not enough. Never happens, you know? It's just have some good faith.
So
and a lot of people don't.
I like the fact that you said that, because again, this is another one that I saw recently floating around social media. But I've gone from the fuck the entire, because there is an exploitive side to it. As much as there's good opportunities, there is the slap 32 rappers on a flyer and pray the show works side of it.
I never liked those showcases. No, that's
because there's, again, this is still pay to play. This is still in the same conversation.
I think pay to play and then versus pay to play for a major headlining act where you get to meet the artist, you get to talk to them, and like I always tell artists when they go to those things, and it's kind of a little off topic, but like once you're at that moment, because that moment is really so priceless, and because they asked me, yo, can I meet the guy after? I'm like 100%. He's like, yo, could you get him to like talk about this or like put me on this? I'm like, look, I could put you in the room with the guy, put you in the field. But how you play the field is up to you. It's up to who you are, and it's up to what you're feeling. You know, like, you could go up to him and approach him 100 different ways. You could say, hey, man, big fan, just opened up for you, crowd's lit, could we take a picture? And that could be it. Or you could go there with your iPhone, ready on a selfie camera, being like, yo, could I spit you some bars? You know, and then, like, right away, like, your city's gonna see you spitting bars to a big artist, and, like, that's something that people are interested in. How do you use that? Or you could say a million things to him. You literally have an opportunity with somebody who's doing what you want to do at a major level.
You're the second person. Actually, I don't know if you know Urban Logics.
Of course.
I was speaking with Logics.
He's working with Hugo on his project right now.
He was telling me similarly, when you go backstage, have a plan. I mean, like, ultimately, have a plan for when you get backstage.
Know
like, what you're gonna do.
To perform, but like,
because
there's someone who's doing what you want to do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there are certain people that I believe that my sound meshes with, like, atmosphere. Yeah. They're coming in. I don't really care about that side of it now, but for the sake of it, let's say it was possible. It would be worth thousands for me to get in front of those guys. It would not be worth a lot of money for me to try to talk to Migos.
Right.
Because...
So, like, let's say like a Tech 9 or something, right? I don't know if that's
50-50.
Maybe like a couple years ago.
You
would have been like the guy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Now I'm a little bit more like, I want the content, but you know, but still to that end.
Still, even regardless, a video of you rapping to Tech 9.
Absolutely.
You don't think like
absolutely market value. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily chase it as hard for Tech 9, but
I'm just
you're
saying,
absolutely correct.
You could replace it with any A-list artist, even if it was you spitting bars for Britney Spears. As funny as it would be and out of context.
No, allow me to be clear. I would pay big money to spit bars at Britney Spears, because to me, like, those are like experiences that like are beyond just. It's not just like even the opening part. Like to talk to these people is so valuable because their time, if you break it down to the per second,
is valuable.
Is like shit. It's probably worth more to rent that person for the hour than it is for you to pay to open up that shit to get that little time and, you know, like. So I mean, on that front of it, I get it. Yeah. I just don't like it on the when the show doesn't make sense and it's just a lot of names
I don't agree
together.
With that. Definitely not. But like, if you are involved in a showcase, bring as many people as you can regardless, because that's what you hope the other guy does. Because part of these things is how do you reach people outside of your Facebook group? Because that's what everyone has. And the easiest, and Instagram is a great way because it's just built to connect you with a lot of people that like you're not close to, I guess. You know, like, because hashtags and little things like this that lead you to people. But Facebook is just something that's very hard to reach outside of. So going out to events and doing things like this and just even sponsored posts on Facebook.
I've been to a couple of events this year. Definitely not as many. And they don't get the numbers that we used to get back in the day.
There was just the Dax concert.
I was to be fair, I was at that Dax concert with you. I would put that in a tier above local. It's in that, like...
For sure, but that's 400 people. 500
That's
people.
Not what I was thinking in terms of the more local end of events I've been to recently.
It was packed.
The Dax concert was very much, that was nice.
That's a packed Belmont show. You know, like last time I saw Belmont was like La Coca Nostra.
I haven't seen Belmont packed like that in a minute, to be honest.
Same. I will be honest, because that was like 2 years ago that I'm talking about.
But like, what I meant is more like I went to this lady show. Yo, there's some serious lady rappers in this city. I don't know why none of the dudes I know talk about any of the ladies I know, but I just went to this like lady showcase back in like August, September.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
It was like 10 chicks. I was like, I never seen a more prepared series of rappers in my life. Like, I'm talking like prepared.
Yo,
like
girls come prepared, man.
Like every like. Like, cause I'm not saying that guys don't come prepared. I'm saying there's usually a couple of guys at every show I've been to who aren't quite as prepared as these ladies were at that show. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, that's cool. That's definitely cool, man. And like,
I don't know. I just that just popped into my head. It's not really related to much, but just in the subject of shows. But yeah, unfortunately the numbers aren't there. Like it's
very hard
getting more than like 30, 40 people of like, I'm talking fans, right? Because you look at the room sometimes and half of that room is staff and the entourage, and it's not really
people who aren't rappers who are there for the music and hip hop, and that's just goes around a little bit what we were talking about before. It's just like we as much as we like to acknowledge how Montreal is so very, you know, prominent in its art and its cultures, we are a small city.
Fair.
You know, there's obviously smaller cities and don't get me wrong, but like we are a small city. We're nowhere compared to anywhere, any little spot in Florida, or LA or Atlanta, and there's not the same culture of artists that are one above us that are pulling back the people that are with them.
Right.
Like, you know, so a lot of people that are trying to pull up the music game are just people that are trying to profit off the music game. But out there's big stars, which means there's big media companies, which means there's a lot of people who are paying attention to them because there's something generating. And we just don't have these celebrities. We don't have these A-list people that are bringing up the next generation. We just have ourselves and our culture. So if we have our culture, what's going to pop? Is it English music or is it French music? It's French music.
Well,
and we
French,
see that
so
because all
I
the
think,
people that are prominent now.
But I think the answer to the question is twofold. At a local, in-person, live level, it's absolutely French music. At a grander internet, international level, French music, unfortunately, will never stand a chance. Leaving it to what I think needs to happen, and this is just my theory, and I'm a huge proponent of the future is VR. It's like my main mantra of this shit. So I think the English side needs to look a lot more to the internet and how we can leverage live on the internet to remind to do twofold. One, remind all the people, because I'm in my 30s now, and there's a whole bunch of dudes in their 30s who probably would come to the rap show if they believed the rap show was going to be good. And I'm not saying the hip-hop crowd. I'm talking the office worker will actually show up and buy your hoodie because they have the money in their pocket to do so type crowd. And they would come if they believed it was going to be dope, but there's nothing for them to click on in most cases. Because, I don't understand how many people I see at shows with cameras and how few videos I see online after. Like, how does everybody have... You guys have stuff and you guys play it, but, like, how many times you see people at the camera and there's nothing on the internet? Where's the internet presence? Anyway. So, all I'm trying to say is, if we made, as English artists at least, more of an effort to focus online, we could probably attract more attention than we're doing.
100%. And a big part of it is, because we do have people who are super active online, but it's how you're active online and what are you showing and are you branding it and is it planned and is it just your ideas that are coming to your head as they're coming? Because that's not how you're supposed to do it, and that's what we have a lot of. And like, dude, I can't tell you how many people, and every artist is like this. They get the video, oh my god, release it. It's like, dude, like, you've already announced the release date before. You're already late for the release date because you announced it before you had the video. So now as soon as you get the video, you just want to release it. And it's just these pre-things because...
it's crazy? I put out an album.
People get excited.
And I was excited. I wasn't really thinking it through. And right after I put out the album, I realized that if I had just put the album out and let it sit in the back end of Spotify for 4 weeks, it will match it to algorithms. But if you don't let it sit for 4 weeks, it won't match it to algorithms. I'm like, no shit. I just literally fucked an entire album launch because I was a little bit too excited to let it wait an extra month. Just an extra month.
It doesn't matter. Who would have noticed?
Nobody. Nobody really would have given a shit, is the honest truth of it. Half of these release dates are just like, my ego.
Doesn't matter.
But no, you're right, man. Just the anticipation for the right timing.
Even famous people push back release dates.
Absolutely.
How many times have Lil Wayne done that?
Kanye. Just look at
Kanye literally remasters the same song and re-releases it
without telling you. Just swaps the file.
Like, dude. Like, it's there, but it's not always the right way of doing it. But people do it still regardless. And like I said, we go bring it right back to the initial thing. There's no real recipe because you could see anomalies everywhere. There's just smart moves. And if you do smart moves, you're not going to have to go back on your moves. And you're not going to have to repeat the same mistakes.
But definitely there's something that's common to your story. And it has to be that you manage to, every year or two, add to your portfolio of skill sets, right?
For sure.
So it is
within the past year, I've also started taking pictures and battling and stuff.
That's how I was actually going to segue into the battling. But I did want to, I really want to drive home that... I guess for myself, I'm seeing it, right? So I start as a rapper, and then I start becoming an album reviewer, and now I've turned myself into an interviewer. And it really is just, accidentally, I'm going to go fucking do some shit, and then I'm going to figure out how to do this shit, and then... Anyway, so, it was...
A lot of it also with me was just supply and demand. People are asking for something, and when I was younger, I was a little bit timid. I would just turn it away. Exactly. And then as I grew older, I realized, okay, I should be facilitating these things for people, because a lot of people are lost, and for some reason I have a really good understanding of how to like clearly make a project happen.
Ooh, do you read? Are you a reader?
Not at all.
Do you like audiobook? Because I know you said you like YouTube learn.
Well, like not like that. Like I don't like sit there and watch like hours. Like I'll literally like, if I'm trying to learn something such as like I don't know, how to properly edit a photo shoot that's done in a studio. You know, how to get the background perfectly white or perfectly black. Like what,
Right.
you know, so like little thing to learn. You can learn that in a couple hours, you know, just a YouTube video a morning, you know, so before 12 o'clock is usually like my like time. So I'll get up. I usually get up, but I get up by the sun, by
That's
the way.
fantastic.
I've never had
'Cause
an
that's
alarm clock.
Actually,
I wake up by
a
the sun.
question I want to ask everybody is what time they wake up at.
When the sun is up, so it's usually like 7. I'm usually up. I'm out of bed.
And then you learn some crap in the morning.
Yeah, when I'm feeling it, and usually I'm feeling it, you know, especially if I don't have anything to do. If I see I have nothing to do today, and like I'm literally gonna like smoke joints all day and sit around, I'll be like, hey, I have time to do this. I have time to learn something, you know, and like it also just comes with supply and demand. Okay, I'm getting so many people asking for this, and I'm outsourcing so much of that money to other people when it's like really just a simple job that I could probably just learn by myself.
So
And there's so many easy ways. The internet is built literally for you to be able to do half of these things by yourself now. That's what like all these businesses that are coming up are just catering to you being able to do it yourself. Like when you have these like cheap, I mean, I don't recommend them, a lot of them, because they're just cheap, easy ways of doing it when you should either learn or hire a professional.
yeah.
But like Wix or these little things you can literally drag and drop a website.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that because I don't have the time to deal with it. But for what my business needs, Squarespace totally makes more sense than actually dealing with the other side of it.
Right.
But in general,
But I would say it's stupid to do Wix because you're paying monthly for a website.
I
where
wouldn't
it's
do
not
it
a
for my like artist brand, but for this YouTube channel and my immediate need of like 700 web pages uploaded. It's not about, it's all SEO grabs, etc. I don't care. It's not really about that. It's a different thing entirely.
And look, if you find success from it, continue it. If you don't,
But it's
change it.
Absolutely. But I would say for anything music related, I would agree with you a lot more than the blog podcast side of life, which is a different beast altogether. But yeah, I would agree that it's worth it to take the time and figure it out and either partner with somebody who's going to back. Because I was going to ask, you do like everything. So that means do you have employees, partners? How does that play out for you?
So with MakeWay, I've never had any partners. With the company here, it's always been me calling the shots and doing things. But I do have employees. I have 4 engineers right now that are working pretty much full time. 2 photographers,
So
slash video directors. And when the radio was running, so also we didn't really segue into like where I'm at right now because I just moved last month
right.
into the new location, which is now in the Marché Central, you know, around Sauvé Metro,
Right.
you know, Rockland Center, all those spots. And we found it used to be an old bank, a standalone building, so solid, so much nicer than this old building I was at. And just the structure of it's amazing. It's concrete walls, floors, ceilings. So the soundproofing is like unbelievable for the bass. Solid concrete, can't get better than that. And we just started building, and now we still have vault doors. So literally, the entrance to my studio is gonna be like heavy gold vault door. That's
amazing.
It's vintage. It's crazy, and it's just a vibe. It's an amazing vibe what I'm building here, and I really do think this is gonna be the nicest studio that I'm gonna have to date.
That's really cool.
And for anyone who has been watching my progress, every time we do a move, every time I do a move of any sort, it's always an upgrade. It's always something great, and it's always just like you could feel how we're settling in. You could feel how we've done this a couple times and how the moves are getting faster now. Before it used to take me like 3 months to like build and construct and set up, you know, or now like we're busting projects out. We know the team, we know the people, we know the materials.
So essentially, you're the boss man, project manager, and you just make it all happen.
Yeah, and I spit.
So, how did you get into battle rapping? Because that seems like like the one of the latest innovation? Because I know one day I'm sitting there on Facebook and then I'm watching you talk a bunch of shit about winning a battle.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I was at this building and I was starting to reach like a peak. Like the building was fully full, like there was someone in every room. Like you walk through that hallway, there's beats playing here, there's beats playing there, there's a radio interview going on there's studio session there, photos, like every room is popping. There's like 30 people at any given time. Like go in there at 6 a.m. there's sessions, there's shit, like it's popping the building. And I was like, cool, like, well, let me try to do something now, like now like everything's pretty much stable, everyone's running, like I had that extra time again, and I had time to smoke a spliff, man. I got time to do something else in my day, so and I saw battle rap, and I know I've been a freestyler, and when I freestyle with my boys, we diss each other, and sometimes just to make him rap better when there'd be people around and I'd see he wouldn't be like too on it and on the vibe, I just started dissing him in front of people, and he'd come back even harder, and he's like, this guy Nico Map, he just started battle rapping also because I got him into it. And it's just things we do. Like we just egg each other on. We've been doing it for years. So when battle rap started getting a little bit popular with DMS in Montreal, I was like, I was already supporting all the events. Just had to feel in the right vibe, had to be in the right time, and like I didn't have too much going on where I wouldn't be able to fully dedicate my time to the battle, which I feel like is a big problem a lot of battle rappers do. Is they just accept it because it's there, and then they don't end up showing up or they don't end up performing how they should have.
I don't understand how people just don't show up to shit they commit to, but
I don't understand how you show up and you're not prepared. If you're not prepared, man, you'll never catch me slip up on my stuff. It never happens. I come so prepped to these battles with everything that goes on. Like I'm traveling, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and I still know that I have to be prepped.
I mean that I would assume, and again, I know that sometimes I say shit like this to those watching. It might come off pretentious, but I would just not show up to something like that unprepared because, A, it's my reputation.
I wouldn't either. That's fucked.
I can't say I'd be a great battle rapper, but if I knew I had an opponent, I'd research them and do some geeky psycho breakdown or whatever the fuck I could find and, play to it, but
as long as
something.
Get through it. Don't come there and... and you're choking and you don't know what you're saying and you're gonna freestyle some racist things about Jews and stuff. It's like, dude, like this first guy that I battled just went off the charts and it wasn't even clever anymore. It was just like, just looking at it, I'm like, bro, like just stop rapping at this point, The 3 judges gave it to me. I came through hard on every round. I didn't stutter, I didn't fumble, I didn't quit, and I gave him all, because when push comes to shove, all I do is make way. And that's what they know.
So how many battles have you done?
3.
And what's your rating?
Well, 2 of them weren't judged.
So just
I only had 1 judge.
For the sake of, like, I'm not that familiar to the battle community.
Well, lately, like, when I was watching battle rap in like 2012 when it was coming up with like Lil Pesci and all these guys, there was always ratings, there was always judges, there was always a number. It was like Mayweather, you got your number, you're 50-0 or you lost a whole bunch, So I mean that's why my first battle I was like judge, no, and then the second one against Napalm there was no judge. The third one against Speech was like a 1-rounder, there was no judge.
So I had a guy in. I have a friend in Cali who I started talking to throughout this whole podcast adventure, and he was saying that his opinion on that is judges don't like to be like honest, and people are kind of petty when the out of town shit happens. So if the guy from New York goes over there and that judge gives him a bad grade, then when he comes over here, those judges gave him a bad grade.
Right.
The other side of it was that sometimes shit's live in the room, and then when you watch the video on the YouTube, you heard what the dude actually says, and it's not so live after all. But dude wins, even though the other guy may have just brought double entendres and whatever. You didn't catch it, replayability. So that was what he was saying is the 2 main reasons why the judging seems to have disappeared. But I just thought it was weird that it went from like almost like boxing to like...
just like content.
Yeah.
That's all it is now. It's just content. It's just, here's a 6 verses.
That's
comment on it.
Is it like worth doing? Like, do you think it's fun?
I do. It's honestly, if you think you could rap and you want to get put to the test, you battle, because it's the only time, like, it's like where you're in front of like 400 people and they're all just quiet, and everyone just goes like silent when it's your turn to rap, and they're only making noise if you like say something clever. And that's just like, that's crazy.
So, like, how do you put together your battle verses? Is it, like, targeted, or is it more general?
Well, the whole thing about battling random local guys at the end of the day is they don't really have anything to be personal about. But me, I'm so out there, they could literally find, like, everything about me, you know, because I'm professional and I'm branded and I put my stuff out there to be seen. Because, I mean, that's the whole point of, like, rapping and this and that. Like, you're trying to get people to see and hear you, you know? But, like, for some reason, like, rappers, they just don't want to be seen or heard, so they don't, like, post anything or put the thing. They just wait for Feezy to tell them, oh, you got to battle this weekend. Show up.
Fun fact on that conversation. I had an epiphany. So I've had that conversation. Why are y'all so adverse to the internet? And then I realized there's a lot of people whose lifestyles have got them conditioned to being adverse to the internet across the board because they're involved maybe in some stuff, and then they bring all of that paranoia to their hip-hop marketing game because the streets got them or whatever. And I'm not talking shit. I'm reporting on the conversations I had. See, I happen to have a life that is 100% on the up and up as far as the law is concerned, because just how it worked out, employed, taxes, all that shit. I'm fucking on social media, maybe not as good branding musically as I should be, we'll say, but I can say whatever the fuck I want on social media. I'm like, yo, let's go live at every show, blah, blah, blah. And then you go up to other guys and maybe their distributions in their lives or whatever keep them from wanting to look at the internet as a viable option for music marketing. Because there seems to be dudes that can sell albums on the streets and dudes that can sell records on Spotify. And you'll notice the guys who can sell on the streets are the ones that are nowhere to be found online, who happen to sometimes have a higher quality of music.
So, like, Urban Logics is probably, like, one of the only rappers, well, his group, at least, or, like, one of the only rappers I know that sells, like, hand-to-hand.
Fair, but he wasn't who I was even thinking of for avoiding the internet, because he's still kind of got some kind of a small presence going on.
For sure, but, I mean, like, it's also, how do you want to be fulfilled in life? You know, like, guarantee you, he's happy, he's great, you know, like, it depends where you want to be and how you want to do it. He'll tell you, I'll even tell you, he's probably made more money than 99% of the rappers in Montreal off of sales.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
he's got legit mechanisms.
And it's coming in from music, from his music that he recorded in the studio that he invested into, and he got returned. You know,
dude, they have like the craziest thing going on right now at their door-to-door distribution. Man, like
everything. It's nuts. But the whole thing with that, you know, is that other people, nobody wants to do that anymore. Really, you know, you want to just have that. It's the work that you want to put behind it. Because you could do that. He's putting in tons of work though. That's physical work. But imagine if you just drop a song and it goes viral and now you get online streams, and like that's just the new thing to do, and it's just so much easier. And like maybe like apps like Uber and these kind of things that just convenienced everything, that makes people just not want to talk to each other anymore. Like people would rather would rather do Uber now than taxis. I mean, obviously the price is cheaper. There's a lot of other things, but a big part of it is the convenience.
Tips and
there's online mastering now. You don't even want to go to a studio to have a person do it for you. You're so lazy, you'll put it on like a. And I think I don't believe in online mastering.
So here's the thing about online mastering for a guy who's not an engineer and has to pay for engineering.
Yeah.
That lander at like $50 a month would let me deal with a project on the cheap. Is it going to be the same quality as the guy? No. But sometimes your quality end goal isn't that. Sometimes you're aiming for a different standard because of XYZ reason. And if you can't afford the thousands of dollars, the $50 is an option.
If you did it and it worked.
I haven't done it yet. It was just.
I'm just saying, like, in general, for anyone. If you did it and it worked, why should you change what you're doing?
Absolutely.
Unless you want it to grow and you want to do more.
But philosophically, I think that for every engineer like you, and I'm going to say I've heard many people talk about their in-studio sessions with him. He's very involved, knows his shit, etc. There's a lot of other dudes who could copy-paste it and don't necessarily put... And again, it's not saying names, but I've seen this happen where they've got a preset for everybody or things like that that come through. And if your option is that dude or Lander's probably a better option. Whereas if you have like the involved right series of people,
well, I mean,
then it's a different situation.
It comes down to the same thing about making the same mistake twice. If you went to that engineer, it's your mistake if you went back.
No, I know.
You know, and if you went to this Lander and you did a project and it didn't get well received, I mean, maybe you have to figure out where in your process did you go wrong? Why didn't it get well received? And at least change one. Because a big part of, you know, being, I guess, like, just all there in your head is just like, don't make the same mistake twice.
I absolutely
right?
agree with that.
You know, and like that's just a huge thing. If you keep making the same mistake twice or 3 times, you just keep doing the same thing your whole life. Like you go to the studio, get a little cover art done for it, release it on all these platforms, rinse and repeat. Like at what point are you going to realize that like something besides the song has to change?
Absolutely. No, I hear what you're saying on that.
And I'm not talking to you directly. I know I'm staring you like in the eyes telling you this, but like, yo, like,
for the record,
dude,
the
like,
reason my music hasn't popped is because I ignored marketing strategies. Big mistake. 0 roll-up plan, 0 numbers. That's the truth of the matter.
And you know, and people want to say that it's because they don't support you, or they want to say, oh well, they'll support Drake, but they won't support me. Well, yeah, Drake.
I support Drake because he has some fucking bangers. What are you talking about? Like,
for sure, but there's even memes that say like your friends will download a Drake album, but not yours. Support local. I'm like, but dude, Drake is branded. Drake has these crazy videos that are so visually stimulating. You want to watch them 100 times.
Drake's also
all these artists, even the ones you hate. Lil Pump, you watch that video. There's tigers. It's very visually stimulating. They make it in a way.
Like Gucci Gang, it's like you can hate the song.
And you're definitely one of the rappers that would be the first to say fuck this guy.
No, I wouldn't. You would think
like,
that.
I would think that because you're so underground and like the way you rap, like it's like I feel like the new school. That could just be me because like from,
you know what? 5 years ago. Absolutely.
Right.
Today and now, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang.
Right,
Gucci
but maybe do you also understand the internet a little bit more today?
No, I understand music and entertainment a lot more. So I understand vibes.
Yeah.
I understand that, like, you know what? If you're a sober person and you're standing in the middle of the rave and it's blasting techno music, it's not the same thing as being on a Molly. And you know what's really great when you're smashed at 2 a.m? Drake. I don't care what anyone says. There's almost nothing better for me than a good Drake song at 2 a.m. However, sober at 10 a.m., I want to listen to Drake. I want death metal.
For sure. You know, and I've even seen people who hate today's music or whatever. I'm not going to say today's music because there's amazing things always coming out. But when I say it to, you know, the guys that everyone makes fun of today, you know, but they'll listen to it at a club and they'll be like, yo, this actually bangs. You know, it's just like, yo, you're just not listening to it properly, you know, sometimes, you know, but I mean, it comes with every generation.
But it's also music coming out. But even then, if we go back to the 90s, because everyone loves to talk about the golden era, there was so much bullshit hip hop that was the exact same thing as the dancey whatever. Like there was equal volumes of it.
Classic rock music in the 70s was seen as the devil's music. Elvis was seen as doing devil like it's the legends were seen as being the worst and being the devil or being like evil at some point.
All I'm saying is there's always just been multiple vibes, right? Like I mean, you have people who like pigeonhole music and what it should be, and this is good and this is bad, and often what you'll see is older cats hating on newer shit because it sounds different. And if you're a 34-year-old rapper, let's say, and you're trying to, I don't know, drop some shit that sounds like 95 right now, good luck. Like you're probably never gonna pop. And it's even if Griselda Records and those dudes pull off everything they're doing, it's just probably not going to happen because that's what very few people on earth are really into based on all the numbers available. And it's just facts. It's like there's an understanding that music evolves and it changes. And if you're an artist, in my opinion, you should be adaptable. If you're fighting melody, I mean, you might not be able to sing, but you shouldn't hate melody in hip-hop because it sounds dope half the time I hear it, you know? Like, Lil Yachty is brilliant. His use of auto-tune and weird effects on his voice is just so like he creates a new instrument out of it in a way where like it's so fascinating, and like you obviously can't do that with your voice, but it's fucking cool to listen to when you actually put the album on and you vibe to it. Like it's party music. It's just what it is.
Sure.
I don't know. But yeah, anyway.
I wasn't impressed with his freestyles when he tried to do the hip hop freestyles. That wasn't cool.
But when you put him in the booth with the
He's
right
dirty.
level, like
Dirty artist. I just don't think he should have had to prove himself to a hip hop community.
I wouldn't even.
There was no reason for him to do that. He just felt away. He was probably being, there's a million comments, but like, yo, he's a dope artist, and he shouldn't have done that move.
We also, just on the older side of things, if you're above 25, don't shit on the 17-year-old for being 17. Like, just don't shit on the kid for being you're not necessarily supposed to be the most prolifically smart person at 20 years old in how you live your life. And if you happen to be rich, what would you do? I don't know. Most of us would do what Lil Pump is doing. Most of us would, if we were rich at 20. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Hey, yo.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting less of a hater as I get older. Because, the world is just full of wonderful. Like, if you really
For sure. And I feel like you're also getting more into media and stuff. And, like, you're taking a deeper look into what really these people are trying to portray other than just the surface, which is what a lot of people do. People see the surface, all they literally hear is Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang, Gucci Gang. And that's why a lot of people just hate. But there's so much more. And not even just people, more artists if we focus on. Yeah. An artist will see the surface of that, completely hate it, disregard it, but not even take in one aspect of why the song popped over yours.
Absolutely.
Like, you can't even... so they hate everything, but he's wearing the coolest stuff. Has a lion. He has a high-budget video. He has great quality. The layering of his song is done perfectly.
The jewelry that he has just matches his aesthetic perfectly, hits his crowd.
And it's every single major video that pops. Even if you hate Cardi B, she did the same thing. She had a leopard in her video. Nice high-quality thing. The layering of the thing was perfect. There was no parts that were off. The quality was on point. And then you have that little girl there, the bad Barbie, whatever her name is there.
Well, I don't hate what she did.
What did she do? She did a nice music video,
exactly.
Layered it perfectly, did a little singing.
Fucked with some seriously
what was the animal? A nice white horse.
Did she?
Yeah, she was on the white horse wearing the craziest outfits, and the whole thing was done up. It's a production, and people like that. It's eye candy.
It's pop. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean it
like commercial rap.
Michael Jackson did the same shit with the Thriller video. It wasn't a giant...
It was from the outfits to the layering of the song to the this.
I think a lot of people so there's that underground lyrical side, and it's almost like a staple on every underground lyrical hip hop album where you have to diss the mainstream guys. To the point where it's almost more common to find a lyrical guy talking shit about a mumble rapper than it is to find a mumble rapper trying to fuck my girlfriend. Like, that's how much these guys fucking complain about it. It drives me nuts. Every album, I'm like, how the fuck do all of you sound the same? Not to say that they all sound the same.
Which is funny because
that's exactly because as a reviewer, I'm sitting there week over week over week listening to album after album, and I'm not gonna lie, my audience wants that lyrical shit. They don't really want me talking about Lil Pump. Fair. I don't know what to say about Lil Pump. You're right.
I haven't heard him in a while, to be honest.
If you try to go through the bars, man, it is not like there's not the depth. But it's not what it's supposed to be. It's vibe music, and I respect it for what it is. But
understand why he's in the position he is.
I do personally. I'm not hating.
That's what I always tell people, man. If you're hating on it, well, just think, why is he there?
You then look at the dense lyrical bars. Like, we're gonna talk about Company Flow's Fun Crusher Plus, which is possibly one of the nicest underground albums I ever heard. But yo, you gotta be in a mood for that shit, man. You gotta be in a mood to listen to LP take you to other planets, and like, you can just throw on Lil Pump any day of the week, and it'll just be easy listening. And that's the truth of that. And I don't think a lot of people like that because we want to have depth and complexity, especially my kind of artist. But that means you're a niche artist. And I think what changed in hip-hop is that the pop side, the commercial side, became the pop music. It is the 80s big old Aerosmithy type shit. Now it's hip-hop. But then there's still the underground side. And I don't think that most of the artists realize that they're two separate things with the same name.
Yeah.
And that kind of creates a lot of hatred and in what we're seeing. But like, you can't compare a guy whose like dance move is that like stompy arm shake thing to a guy who's gonna be bouncing with his. They're just two completely different audiences. There's no it's barely even crossover. Like just different lanes. So I think the haters are just people mad that their sound isn't the cool one these days, and that to me is silly because you know what. Anybody living in Quebec should know, especially on the Anglophone side, that when somebody goes, your language sucks, speaks this language, it didn't make any of us want to learn how to speak French. It made a lot of us fucking hate French. So why are we doing the same thing in hip-hop? Why are we doing the same thing like that? That's what I'm trying to understand.
I always see, the people who are successful, who are doing it, aren't complaining.
Absolutely not. They're all like, yo, give it a chance.
You know? So, it's a lifestyle with how you choose to listen to music, from how you choose to interact with people, to how you choose how you want to learn.
Fair
you could
enough.
choose to hate something, or you could choose to learn from it. And I think, like as you say, from what you see in music reviews, is that you see a lot of people would rather hate on the music in their track than like, why not make a bar about like
even to
like why not make a bar about learning, like, yo, like it's so crazy to see the things, but like I learned something from it at the end of the day, you know, like
absolutely.
you know, like there's so many ways to segue that into your music and stuff, where it's like, why don't you just learn from why they're successful?
This is my biggest beef with modern day Eminem. Honestly, everything you just said is Eminem, and today and now he complains and he doesn't teach you nothing, and it's fucking weird because he should be like, you'd think Eminem has all the knowledge and experience to lay the blueprint and drop like another 444 quality level project, and instead he's fucking with Logic and them, trying to prove to a bunch of 16-year-olds he can complain against mumble rappers. And I'm like, what? And this is literally his year. It's
So
2019.
are you waiting for a response?
No, his tweet.
Do you think he's gonna respond?
His tweet got retweeted more times than the invitation got views.
Oh yeah.
He won. It's over. Like, why would you respond? You just kudos to Eminem on that one. That was an amazing thing.
Which tweet was it?
Both of them. Both of the tweets.
Okay.
The Butler tweet apologizing.
Yeah.
There's no video, whatever. Both of those tweets outperformed his first diss track, and then his second diss track was whack, and then the third one
And
was.
it's a lot easier to get views than reposts.
Nobody retweets. That's like.
You shouldn't have Twitter.
So,
man.
as much
I'm
as
on
I-
my games so much, and I don't even have Twitter. It's just like I don't know. I can't really tell you like
Twitter's.
when and where, but I think it's more of like if you grew up in a circle and there's a lot of people using it, that just became the norm. Or if you're obviously already an influencer, it's
Well,
just gonna be seen.
Twitter's time consuming. If you have the time to run through and tweet like all the time and you're in the know, it's news, right? So what you would do is hire a dude to be on your Twitter and tweeting all the time, because you wouldn't have the time for it. Maybe it isn't even.
I would
work.
never do that. I would never let someone handle my social media. It's not the move.
No, fair enough.
It's not the move because, and I tell this to people, they're like, they want to hire me to handle their social media. Sure, I could do it, but dude, if you really want success, it has to be you. It has to be genuine.
Right.
It's the whole point of a lot of this music thing is they just want to know who you are. They don't want to see this whole fake image and things like that. That's why Lil Dicky blew up. He was just like one of the realest rappers who's just like, yo, I'm just a guy. You know, like, I ain't got money. I'm going to make a song about being cheap and like halving ass a video, but like doing it so big anyways, you know? And it's just being clever. It's thinking a little bit outside the box and seeing what people really want. They want to see someone who's completely transparent. If they have a question, they want to get an answer about it. Or they're going to just, you know? I don't know. It's weird what the internet has become these days and what people want to see. But there's reasons why each person blows up, and they each have their little reason. But it's always different, which once again means there's no recipe to how to do it.
No, I agree with that. I don't know. At this point, just I guess to wrap up a little bit, because I think we've blown past my hour marker that I was hoping for. What is next? I mean, I know you got the new studio, but like, where do you see yourself going with all of this?
I hope to eventually have a studio in the States that could bridge that whole thing we were talking about of having, you know,
Famous people.
a celebrities here, actual people that are in the hip hop community see and hear our English community and understand that there's a lot of talent coming out of Montreal. We're just maybe, you know, we were just born in the wrong place or something. Because I know people in Montreal that are doing millions, but they don't interact with the local scene.
Right.
They're doing those numbers because they left, and like you don't know these people. Nobody really in the scene knows these people, but like they're amazing artists, and like it's just crazy, you know. But they don't show up at the local shows. They don't do these kind of things. They figured out their lane, you know, and they figured out that it wasn't Montreal, you know, and you know, now it's up to them to how to bring it back and how to actually get it. But there's definitely people in Montreal doing really good things.
I hope to.
And like it's just I mean, I'm not gonna say it sucks, you know, but I mean it's just for our situation being English speakers, you know, it sucks for us that French right now is prominent, and it's what's locally. You're not gonna ever tell me that French music is gonna overtake English globally.
It'll never
and
happen.
I know it'll never happen.
It'll never happen.
But for where we live,
especially
if you're trying to be a local
just
hero,
to add,
it's
a
like
little bit of context. A huge part actually of a lot of local grinds is government support. Believe it or not, in a lot of places, grants, shit like that. Our current Quebec government is very pro-French, and they're not going to give a shit about the English.
Another reason I've seen tons of French artists come to my studio with grants, and like they get to do the process just so much faster. And like I'm happy for them by all means, you know, like they figured out a way to do it without having capital, but it just sucks that there's like these great English artists too that are just trying to do the same thing, you know, and they just can't even understand how to fill out the forms most of the time.
That's rough.
They understand like, yo, there's this, and the form comes in and it's French, and they're like, I don't know any of this, you know, and that's basically where they stall, and it's done.
Yeah, even to that end, it would also be fair to say that there's a bias in what gets approved, and there is. I don't know exactly what it is, but I know that there's quotas of a percentage given to English artists, percentage given to French artists. Bilingual artists are just fucked, actually, because they don't count as either, and both sides
require a certain amount of language.
And so if you wanted to be like a 50-50 and be like, nope, you're fucked here. I know if you're like not in Montreal, some of this language shit sounds wonky, but just Google Bill 101 Quebec, and it's some fucked up real shit that is a part of our reality as Anglophones.
Dude, I went to Florida and I talked to them like, yeah, there's like French, like they're like, yo, what's popping in your scene? I'm like, yo, these French rappers who are not. What? People rap in French, and it's just like, oh,
yo,
it's
Paris,
like
Paris
it's just, but it's so relevant. French music is so relevant here.
Yeah.
But you literally go anywhere and like it's like, what? Like that's a thing.
But Quebec did do a lot to invest in the Quebec scene.
Sure, it's huge, man, and you can't hate at that. You know, like what we said, bro. We would be hypocrites to say that it was something that we have to learn from and understand. Why did these certain French people pop, and how could we do something similar? You know, so is it maybe because it's where we are? Do we have to travel to somewhere where it's more based around people who actually listen to our type of music and our language of music?
We just gotta drop some French tracks.
Do we have to? You know,
just say.
But look, maybe I drop a French track, and then it's a whole thing. If it works out,
because I've been
now I'm a French artist. You know,
it, like I have even on my end. There's a.
Honestly, I don't think it's the move to do something that you're not. I mean, yo, anyone. I'm not. Yo, do what you gotta do. But all I can say is to Disciple, who tried to rap in English when he's a French artist.
Yeah.
You're not gonna beat it. Someone whose mother tongue.
But
it's not gonna happen.
You could do a good satire piece. I have a satire piece in mind where I want to write it in French, criticizing language laws, and I want to start the track off in English for like a couple seconds, and then have some sirens play. Be like, "Oh shit, it's the language police," and switch into French. Anyway,
that's good though. That's good.
But like, that's how I would get, because I can't rap in French. I can speak. I'm bilingual. I can do a bullshit freestyle in French. I don't ever do that in public, but I can do a bullshit.
For sure, yo, I can do the exact same. I'm pretty bilingual, and I could like, I can go one French.
I can't tell you why a French joke is funny, so I can't write a French pun.
Which is a big part of humor.
Exactly.
And, but understanding a language, is knowing the humor behind
it. And the
it.
double entendres and all, like, because, like, I mean, I'd say amateur rapping is just the compacting rhyming. It's when you can add the meaning behind the bars that it goes to the next level. That's just where I'm at personally with it. So I left, like, a Tech 9 and moved more towards a Nas, right? I made more of that, like, a pivot in terms of content, because, like, that depth is really attractive to me now in a way where...
Battle rap has that too.
I know. Dude, I watched that Bodied movie that Eminem produced, and it just fucking opened my eyes, and I'm like...
And that's why I say, like, yo, if you want to test out if you're actually a good rapper, If you want to see if your
So
boys
I
are just
applied-
hyping you out.
So I applied to DMS one time, and they said they never got back to me. Yeah.
Easy.
That's fair. If you were to look at my online presentation, I mean, even right now, you'd be like, this guy can't battle, which is fair.
Look, if you are still down, I would always say there's always Run DMS, which is like the starter thing, and if you do well there, they put you on the main stage. Tyrell got there after one battle.
I mean, it's one of those things I thought about. I don't know if I do it at this time because I got a lot going on. And as you said, can't commit, can't focus, can't do the due diligence, don't take on the new project. And I mean,
right.
I just started this interviewing thing, and I got the next one lined up January 3rd. Gonna try and fucking fill this out. If I can get 50 interviews next year, to me, that's a win, right? Like, that's where I'm at. So taking on battle rap, well, maybe we'll make that a 2021 project.
Well, as I could say with MakeWay, the biggest part one of the biggest parts the biggest part that made it happen was me being an artist at the same time.
Absolutely.
You know, being able to relate to the artist. I know what it feels like to be in a booth and being frustrated because the guy's just not letting you retake your take like right away.
I think,
Dude, just click restart. You know, like just restart me on my take. Like, there's just so many things where you're just frustrated in the booth with that silence. That, like, I understand now. When you're in the booth, the workflow is going. You're never there in a moment of silence unless you're speaking to me.
and I think
And it's so important. Vibes.
weirdly enough, because I'm an artist, I think I can do this interview thing and touch on a lot of the same subjects. I have a lot of the same frustrations and stuff as the people I'm talking to, and it's an interesting point you made
For
there.
sure. And that, but knowing that, me as an engineer, knowing the frustrations, I know how to counter it or what to do to avoid these things. Like when you can't hear yourself enough in the headphones, I got the certain equipment that allows yourself to hear yourself in the headphones. When there's a delay in your headphones, I learned how to avoid that. And now you want to do auto-tune on your voice at the same time while you're recording, but most people do it through the computer, so no matter what, if you're doing it through the computer, there's a delay. Even if it's a millisecond, me, I can't rap if it's a millisecond. So I figured out a way. How do you get the hardware? How do you get the actual piece so that there's no delay? I figured it out, got the system, and now there's one less thing that an artist is going to be feeling weird about when he's in the booth recording or the process of the music.
That's
And
respect.
all these little things helped, and also just doing shows.
Also,
People
it's
would
called
see the
good
stuff I would.
customer service.
Yeah. And I mean, people would see the shows I was doing and they'd be like, yo, I want to do that show. And they would come to me, how'd you do that? What steps did you do to lead up to that? And I would share my release plans, I would share my development plans with them, and I would supply the people to do it for them. And I mean, it was huge for my growth because I was doing it for other people at the same time. And then when I would apply it to myself, it just seemed like secondhand. It was just natural.
Fair enough.
And when it comes to social media, when it comes to your own music, just be yourself. Just be natural. If you got a story to tell it. You know, tell it in your creative way. It doesn't matter if it's new school, old school, because there are the J. Coles, there are the Lil Pumps, and there will always be the J. Coles, and there will always be the Lil Pumps of the game.
Absolutely. And they did do that good interview where Lil Pump did too much of that ice kissing. Like he just sat there with the ice in his cup the whole time. I don't know if you saw that. They had
I saw where I saw a little clip of them together.
I mean, I watched the whole thing. It was a great conversation, except for Lil Pump with the ice. I'm like, are you really sipping lean like live? Right? Anyway, it looked like he was, but let Lil Pump do what he do. Anyway,
It's a weak one. Whatever.
yeah, I don't know. It was more just, it's so funny to do it in front of J. Cole like that. That was more what I thought was comical. But anyway.
Yeah. Man, these guys. But I mean, nothing comes without movement, man. You know, and that's a big reason why I called it MakeWay, is that there's always movement happening. We're always in motion. The day you stop moving is the day you die. You know, like if you want to stay active, you want to live long, you got to be out there, you got to wake up. You got to understand, like,
I feel that.
you're here once, man. You know, you got to make the most out of it in every way. And if you're going to spend most of your days mad or hating or being aggressive, and you're not going to learn, and you're going to die the same way that you live. You're going to die mad, aggressive, this, that, with wrinkles and gray hairs. And me, I'm not trying to go out like that, you know? I always like being around the people, and I have a lot of people that have been supporting me in the city, man, and we're going to keep growing, and we're going to keep striving to be the #1 studio, and I'm going to help brand the city, and these new things that I'm going to come to help the city be able to brand themselves, to be in the eyes of the American, market and the A-list celebrities that we speak about. These are things that I'm doing to help us actually have that image. And one artist at a time, I will teach them the method to do it, of branding, so that you don't just get excited and drop your project. That you don't do all these wrong moves. And to wrap it up, once again, no real recipe.
That's
just
fair.
Smart moves.
That's fair, man. So, I just wanted to say thank you for coming through. This is, to me, been interesting. Like, I'm pretty sure I can just fucking hit edit, boom, not even cut anything out. It's dope. Like, this is a good chat, in my opinion.
It was awesome to see, like, where you've come also from, wearing the suits at these little cave
I still wear the
things.
suits.
But just like, it was day one stuff. We didn't know what we were doing.
No, I was an arrogant little shit. I thought I was cool, and I talked a lot of shit. And then I learned humility. For me, humility and learning to shut up and listen. Like, in this conversation, you probably gave away a whole bunch of knowledge that I don't have to Google now. So, like, for me, it's just dope. I find this is... Talk to people. If that would be my advice on all of this, is having conversations like this. Do it in your private lives. You don't have to do it on camera like me if you don't want, but do it on camera. It's fucking easy content. But, like, it's just so valuable. And anyone who does watch this, you can let us know in the comments what you think, of course. But I think that BuDz over here has given some really valuable insight that if somebody starting can really take that knowledge in the same way you'd watch any other top tier person, only you're more relatable because you're still here in the city doing the thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you for coming through. It's truly an amazing conversation. I'm going to just do the little outro thing because we do have to give a special thanks to everybody watching it, because y'all are the real MVPs. Like, we're here talking, sure, but y'all are the ones watching it, so that's fucking dope. Let us know in the comments what's up. I'll come through and answer them. You can check the
little
video.
thing right there.
What little thing?
Their comments are gonna be down there.
Yeah, they'll just used to that.
Subscribe here.
Subscribe. I don't like flash it. I say it in every video because I feel like you have to. I hate saying it. I feel like it's the cheekiest shit ever, but you still kind of have to if you take YouTube seriously, because it actually works. It's fucking stupid. But like, subscribe, comment, dislike too, because dislikes are also good. In fact, if you have like 37 likes and 0 dislikes, it looks faker than if you have 3 dislikes, is all I'm trying to say. A couple of dislikes is good. But yeah, let us know. He'll come through hopefully in a week or two. Check the comments, give a couple of answers. If you have questions, you can shoot them down there. And then if not, if you ask questions, next time he comes through, follow up part 2. I
could even say, for anyone who's looking to search me up on social media or on the website anywhere, you could go to MakeWayStudios.com, and then you'll find everything about me, MakeWay Studios, how to book, and the music.
I'm going to have that link below too, so that you can just do the lazier thing of show more and click. And I'll put his socials so that you can also click lazily. Because, yeah, that's what the world is. But most importantly, of all the most important, special thanks to the patrons: Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Jonathan Barnes, DJ Black Hurricane, Linda Williams, and Coney Sparks, and Scribble. They're super dope. Support what we do. Helped us get the new camera. Helped us pay for the other stuff that we're having over next year. They're just amazing. Without them, there probably wouldn't still be a thing happening today, and that's dope. But in exchange, they tell us what albums that we're going to review, and while the holiday schedule has been absolutely fucked, we will soon be following up with TJ Black Hurricane's request very shortly. And again, they're all super dope. You can, if you do want us to review an album soon, best way for you to do it, the long version is hit that comments, and we can get to it when we can. I also make music myself, as we touched on. You can check that all out on the channel. Let me know what you think about all that. On that note, it's that time, so live long and prosper, everyone.